Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this Ag Forecast for South America, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. What I'd like to do first is place so far through the month of January what we've observed from satellite drive precipitation, so you can see the way this pattern has shaped up. So as I click play, keep an eye here on South America. Now, early in the month, we had some showers and storms that rolled through Argentina into southern Brazil. But after that, the main focal point where we saw so much heavy rain was here from eastern Mato Grosso over toward Bahia. Nothing farther to the south. We started to see that front advance right here, watch this, on the 15th into the 16th, 17th, and 18th. See it there? And that is the first significant return of precipitation to Argentina in a very long time. What we need to talk about in this video is where's that front going? Will it continue? Will it move north? And now that we've gone a bit drier here in the north, when does that moisture start to return? Let me show you the impact of that front though. Now this is looking at the whole of Argentina's area where they grow corn, and we can see the buildup of all that extreme heat we talked about, which caused all of the crop degradation. We saw the stress from satellite. This was it. The front has passed and the temperatures have dropped off a lot. Now, if we zoom in on one area in particular, Cordoba, I want to show you, let's just look at precipitation. Because as of late, look right in through here, this is the influence of that front finally bringing in showers and storms. But before that, extremely dry, and this has had a major impact on the crop in Argentina. Anything planted early is not going to see the benefit of this rain, but anything planted late will. Now, from Cordoba, let's step a little bit farther north. I'm going to go to Brazil, and let's just go up into Rio Grande do Sul. Now, the same thing's going on there. Better precipitation trying to show up now, but we need to see how that's going to shift over the next several days because they are still in a pretty large deficit. And there's been more scattered storms in Paraná as of late. You can see this throughout this time period in January. While we're still in deficit, the slope of that tends to match better with the slope of climatology. So we're making some improvements in that area. Again, the damage done to the early planted crops, both corn and soybeans in Paraná, this is not going to be enough to completely revive that crop, given how far along it was. But it's a better signal as we kind of move forward in the forecast. So what is this forecast going to do? In a nutshell, if you only got a couple of moments with me tonight, I just want to show you this. Stalled out boundary is here right now. There's a lot of suppression due to a weak monsoonal flow in the position of the MJO right now over much of northern Brazil. Now what this has done in this area is that being dry for the last, 7, 8, 9 days, drier than normal at least, they've had a very rapid harvest of the first crop of soybeans and rapid planting of the safrinha crop. So this is very different from a year ago where everything was so late. But what's going to happen in this forecast is that the models have been quite consistent that through the end of January and the beginning of February, that boundary that has created all that rain in Uruguay and Argentina this week and this past weekend is shifting north to Paraguay and southern Brazil, and these are also drought-stricken areas. We see in the north a return of more normal rainfall as well, so the monsoon is going to regain its normal strength, and that's going to be a critical early rain that's going to get onto that newly planted safrinha crop in that area. A lot of corn and cotton is what we're talking about here. Why is this happening? Well, we're starting to see a shift in the AAO. Multiple times throughout December, went up to big peaks, never able to get back down below zero. Another big peak at late December, a big one here in January. And as of late, we're starting to see this flatten out. Now, what is the significance of this? The Antarctic Oscillation is really a measure of the pressure pattern over the Antarctic, and it tells us how the trough ridge system is going to behave. In a nutshell, when the values are very high, we have infrequent frontal passages through Argentina. What we see now is that the spread in the models is large, but it's not bouncing way back up. And the significance of that gets tied in with what the MJO is currently doing. But the MJO is a bit of a mess right now, to be honest with you. When you look at where we have the best rising and sinking motion across the tropics, rising motion being in like the blue-green color, sinking motion in the warmer colors, we see that now over the next 5 days, still suppression of the monsoon and drier. But you can see the influence of that front to the south. And what happens is, as you get out there today 5 through 10, we now start to see more rising motion here, maybe over phase 7 in the MJO. That'd be north and east of Australia. And at the same time, better rising motion happening across all of Brazil's main growing areas. So that means the monsoon will likely come back into its normal motion. And it wants to last. Out there day 10 through 15, best rising motion is somewhere here east of Australia, and there's a kind of reflection of that happening over Brazil's northern growing areas. So again, right now it's a mess because the MJO's collapsed. But if it pops back out into phase 7, that's what we got to watch for. Now, why do we need to pay so close attention to this? History would tell us that if the MJO, instead of coming back out here over by Australia, north and east of Australia, comes out instead over here, which is directly north of Australia, it shifts all of that pattern in the rising motion around the tropics. Now, a failure mode in this forecast would be if the models are wrong and it pops out, especially into phase 5. And this is the reason why. Phase 5 in the MJO in winter tends to produce a lot of subsidence over Brazil's northern growing areas, better rising motion in southern Brazil and Argentina. Right now, the models aren't calling for that. They want phase 7, which, as you can see, doesn't have as strong as signals. In fact, phase 8 would be most ideal to bring in the heavy rains back into this area. So what I want you to be watching with me is to see if the models do end up popping this thing back out into phase 5. That would change a lot for Brazil's forecast going forward. As it stands, that's not the case, and this is what we end up getting. I want to show you the 12Z run from the European today, and as we play this forward, what you're going to see is just getting through Friday and into Saturday and Sunday. I kind of played it fast because what I wanted you to notice was the front stays stalled in this area. The monsoonal flow is farther to the north and weaker in through this region, so we're seeing less precipitation than normal in this particular area. But you watch this front. Here we are on Sunday going into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if you noticed, it stays in this general vicinity, but it starts to pull a bit farther to north, and it's hitting some of the very dry areas in southern Brazil. And at the same time, the monsoon's regaining its strength. And so what we get out here is we get out about a week from now into next Thursday and Friday. There it is. You see the position of that front? It's much farther to north in southern Brazil and Paraguay, and the monsoon's regained its normal pattern. So once we get past the next 5 days, as that front moves to the north, better precipitation is going to be hitting some of the driest fields in southern Brazil. So I put all that together, and you got to get this map the next 10 days. The front stays stalled here through the rest of this week and weekend, and then next week begins to migrate, so that's the above average precipitation there. We have more normal rains returning to big sections of Mato Grosso as the monsoonal circulation re-strengthens, and we come back to this idea that during week 2, that's where the heaviest rain corridor is going to be. And remember, last year in that area I put an X, it was the opposite of this. They had extremely wet weather there in January. And now what we're saying is this won't be coming in until very late. So it's kind of a flip-flop on the timing of the heavy precipitation. And then don't forget, in southern Brazil a year ago, it was the end of the season that finished in drought. This year it was the beginning. But what I do see in Brazil's northern growing areas is going to be pretty good for the outlook on the safrinha crop at this point. What we need to be asking ourselves is, when does this monsoon begin to slow down? Because normally it's still got another 2.5, 3 months to go. It starts to slow down at the end of April. But should it slow down any earlier, we need to pay attention. The latest long-range update, just looking through the month of February, so basically from February 1st to March 1st, what it does show is that consistently the models have put in a corridor in through here of above average precipitation. Now, is that going to be corrective on some of the crop that's already seen major drought stress in southern Brazil? No, it will slow down the problems, but not be corrective. And what we need to be watching out for now is flooding. And any late planted crop in this area, with all of this clouds and rain, should those soybeans be going into bloom right now, we would want to know if we're going to rob them of some sunshine. What I will be watching carefully is to see if this verifies and what's going on here to the north with some drier air coming in. Because there certainly seems to be something happening out of the intertropical convergence zone here that's not supplying that moisture into this region. I'll keep watching it. I'll keep putting these pieces together, try to fit La Nina and its changes into this discussion as well. And I'll report back to you again on Monday. Appreciate your attention. Thank you.